When you're loading thumbnails for a slideshow, you want to make sure you're not writing the same code multiple times. Using a loop, you can write the code once and have that code repeat until all of the thumbnail images are loaded. Let's take a look at the application I have here. If I test the movie, you see an image in the background that's loaded externally, and then a clear bar that's going to hold the thumbnails. The clear bar is just a movie clip that's transparent called ThumbBG. So the alpha is set to 60. Let's go to the first keyframe of the actions layer and open up the actions panel. So in my code, I have some import statements, and then I have all the images in an array. Notice that these are the file names of the images and not the full paths to the images. I'm adding the full paths later on. The reason why I want to do that is so I can use the file names to represent the full-size image as well as the thumbnail. Next, I have variables that store the X and Y position for the thumbnails. These represent the position of the first thumbnail's X and Y coordinates. Using a loop, we'll modify these values each time an image is loaded. So scroll down. Here's the code to load that background image. This is the only full-size image in this application. And then after that's loaded and added to the stage, I added the thumb background so that it's in front of the loaded image. And then I'm running a function called loadThumbs. Here's the loadThumbs function. Notice that it's empty right now. Here's where we're going to write all the code to load the thumbnails. So the first thing we'll do is create a variable called thumbLoader and data type it to a loader. We'll give it a value later. This is going to be recycled for each of the thumbnails that loads. Let's create a loop now. Create the skeleton of a for loop. So for, some parentheses, and some curly braces. Inside the parentheses, type var space I colon uint positive integer equals 0 semicolon space I less than space images dot length. That's the amount of items that are in the images array, so it's going to run for each image. And then a semicolon and a space, and then I++. Standard loop. In here, we're going to create a new thumb loader. So thumb loader equals new loader. Now, I want to point out that it's not creating the same loader every single time. So each time the loop runs, we're actually creating a new instance of the loader class. So we're going to have one loader for each of the thumbnail images. That's significant because if you use the same loader image, then each time the loop runs, it would have the same loader load the image file. So by the end of the loop, you would only see the last image that's loaded into the loop. So we need to create a new loader each time. That's what we're doing here. So then we'll load the image. ThumbLoader.load, and in the parentheses, we'll pass in a URL request. But before I write that, I want to make sure I close out the parentheses and type a semicolon. So go back in the parentheses and type new URL request, and then some parentheses, and now we're going to type the path to the file. Remember, we didn't have the path to the files inside of the array, so we're going to need to write the path now. Here's the path to the thumbnail images. Put some quotes and type assets slash thumbs slash, these are both forward slashes, and then after the quotes, type space plus space, and then we'll type images index I, which is represented by I in square brackets after images. So that's going to represent each image file as we loop through this for loop. Let's go to the next line, and then we'll begin positioning the thumbs. So thumbLoader.x space equals space thumb X. Make sure the X is capitalized in thumb X. And thumbLoader.y space equals space thumb capital Y. And now what we're going to do is add to the thumb X property. So we'll shift each thumbnail by 85 pixels each time. So type thumb X, make sure the X is capital, space plus equals space 85. So each time the loop runs, we're going to add on to the value of thumbnext in the amount of 85 pixels. So the first time the loop runs, thumbx will be a value of 30. So the x position of the first thumbnail will be 30. Then the next thumbnail will be at a position of 30 plus 85. You can do the math in your head if you want. And then the next one will be 85 after that, and then 85 after that, and so on. So let's go to the next line and then add the thumbnails to the stage by using the add child method. So add child, and in parentheses, pass in thumb loader with a capital L. Test the movie, and there are all the thumbnails. Now, of course, they don't do anything when you click on them just yet, but we can add that functionality later on. The thing that I want you to take away is that to load multiple images most effectively, put the image names inside of an array and use a for loop to load each image. That way, you only have to write the code once, and no matter how many images you have, you don't have to write additional code. You just need to add the images to your array.